News today, Adam, as Florida hires Billy Napier as their next head coach, taking over for Dan Mullen. This is a guy who's turned down a lot of jobs. He finally was selected, picked the one he wanted. Why do you think it's a good fit for the Gators?
Yeah, that's one of the things that I think I like most about his decision to take Florida was he was patient. He didn't jump at the first chance to leave Louisiana. For years, his name, at least 2 or 3 years, his name has been mentioned for some of the higher profile jobs. He decided against that, and Florida was the opportunity for him. I had heard his name that he wanted the LSU job really badly. It didn't look like that was going to be a possibility right now. So he took Florida, which is obviously a huge job, definitely a top 10 job in the country. He can recruit there. All of the things that he's going to be able to bring from being a quarterback in college to coaching under the elites of the game. He understands it, and then having sustained success for a few years at Louisiana, I think really make him a nice fit for this job. There are definitely challenges ahead. I think a lot of them Dan Mullen was dealing with while he was there. But it is definitely a very competent coach that has won and has incredible coaching tenure. So I like the hire. He's not an incredibly splashy guy, which I also like. He's going to go in there. He's going to recruit harder than anybody. I think he matches up with Kirby in a sense, in a different style. He's going to be able to compete with recruiting, which was kind of the downfall of Dan Mullen and his staff there. And from a coaching X's and O's point, he's very good. So all around, I think a very solid hire for Florida here.
So when the average fan hears it, they're like, "Oh, who cares? Louisiana, Lafayette, Raging Cajuns." It's easy to forget if you're a casual observer that this guy was a star recruiter at Alabama. We're talking, Devontae Smith, Henry Ruggs, Calvin Ridley. He was involved with Jerry Jeudy. I mean, this was a guy who went down to Florida, battled for top guys, went head to head with LSU. Then he went out to Arizona State for a little bit, so he's got a little West Coast flavor. He's been in Louisiana where they've really developed a ton of players. Elijah Mitchell, playing for the 49ers, one of the best rookies in the NFL, was a guy they evaluated and coached up. That's the combination the Gators need, right? They need to be able to develop, but they also need to be able to, stop hemorrhaging talent, especially in their own backyard.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, look at who's gone into Florida and gotten those guys over the last few years. Alabama does whatever they want. Georgia does whatever they want. Ohio State comes down. Everybody comes down in there. And really the criticism, if there had been one, at least recently, of Dan Mullen, is that he was not all that engaged in recruiting. And so when you're going up against Kirby Smart for guys, you're going to lose a lot of those battles. And, so a decade ago or so, before they had hired a string of coaches there that did not go over well, Will Muschamp, Jim McElwain. I'm not going to say Dan Mullen didn't go over well. I thought he was doing a decent enough job there, not enough to be fired so quickly, but he dug his own grave a little bit there. But in terms of recruiting, I think that's what Scott Strickland, the AD, was looking for there, was someone who has the acumen as a coach, as an X's and O's guy, but also someone who can and willingly will go out and recruit. I think that's the thing that stands out most. So Billy Napier is definitely that guy. He has experience doing it in the SEC. He knows what that's all about. It will be interesting to see if he can use some of his Louisiana ties to recruit in that state more. But they're going to need, recruiting ground other than in state for at least a year or two until he can prove that he can win there. I think he's going to do an incredible job in state, but so many teams are in there. He's going to lose some of those recruiting battles. So he needs other areas to go into. I think Louisiana might be one for some talent that LSU isn't going to get.
Yeah, and his dad, of course, was a famous high school coach as well. So he's got a lot of ties to coaches from around the Southeast, Alabama specifically. So I think it won't be long till he can turn it around. The cupboard is not bare there. It's not. I mean, people may think they stink. They almost beat Alabama like a month and a half ago. You know what I mean? So I think there is going to be talent. They're going to lose some guys, but hey, guess what? He can also go to the portal and find plenty of players. So real quick before we wrap up, who do you think they can either get back into the fold or close with to try to salvage this class?
That's interesting because there are still a lot of names out there. And I think what he can do quickly is get involved with some guys who are also sort of waiting on LSU in a weird way. So if there's still instability there or uncertainty about the hire, I would not count out Isaiah Bond being one of the top targets for him to come back in on and to see where they stand. I know Alabama wants him now. I know he just visited Auburn and LSU is going to be there too. But I think that's an interesting name. He had been committed there. Another commit that I think is going to be serious about Florida now is Shemar James. It was Alabama and Georgia. He surprisingly visited Florida this weekend and now says that they're back in it. He said that even before Napier was hired. So I think that there's interest in Florida. He wants to go there. Evan Stewart's going to be an interesting one. I don't know if Alabama's fully in with him. He had been committed to Texas really briefly. I think Texas and Texas A&M are probably the teams to beat for him. But if Florida really pushes hard, I think that's a kid who is kind of a bit of a wild card in recruiting. And so we'll see if he can get in. Azariah Thomas is one. He has connections to Georgia Tech with his brothers being there. But we'll see. He's an in-state kid. And then Quincy Wiggins. I don't know how much Alabama is pushing for him. LSU is obviously going to be involved with him being a Baton Rouge kid. But Florida has been a school that he's visited and really liked. So I think those are guys to kind of watch here as we move into the early signing period.
All right, stay locked into Rivals.com as we cover all the coaching moves and all the big recruiting news leading up to National Signing Day. Thanks, Adam.